Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 5 October 2020. Coming to you tonight with a watch review. And guys, I've got to tell you, this one is excruciating. Excruciating. The watch we're looking at tonight is the one in front of the camera. It is the Yema Superman Heritage 63. A watch that I planned for, saved for, was enamored with, purchased about a month and a half ago, and unless you followed me on Instagram and Facebook and you've seen some of my venting, you haven't seen this in front of the TheApostleP camera yet. There's a reason for that. In fact, it's a multi-layered reason. Before we get into the horror story, and you will want to watch this review to the end if you're considering purchasing any product from Yema watches in France, because it is an absolute horror story, and we're bringing it to you in October, the month of scary movies. So let's get into the watch, and I'm going to try to talk about this objectively first, and then we'll get to the drama. So the watch comes, at least in its current iteration, in a cardboard sleeve. Inside the cardboard sleeve comes a booklet full of lots of historical facts and pictures about the Yema Watch Company. I guess the history is real, but it has nothing to do with the people that own this company now, I can tell you that. The watch comes in a box that is upholstered in what appears to be faux leather. I think there's the hide of about 2 Nagas in this box, and frankly guys, this touches on something I'm just getting a little tired of. Watch companies, micro brands that make things that go along with their watches that appear to be impressive, but they're just not. If you're going to make a leather upholstered box, make it out of leather, just saying. It's not. So inside the box, and it's kind of nice, you got a French flag zipper, some kind of micro suede lining, a warranty card in more faux leather, completely worthless, by the way. Matters not what it says on it or what the date is. Your warranty with Yema, functionally completely worthless. We'll talk about why. So yeah, you can hold a strap in here, your watch fits. I got my spare links tucked under one of the elastic straps. Now when I purchased this watch, and you pretty much have to buy a Yema directly from Yema's website. The dealer network they have is non-existent in the United States. They might have some authorized dealers in Europe or Asia, I'm not sure. But pretty much you buy a Yema watch, you're buying it directly from the manufacturer. One would think that would give us a cost advantage, not sure it does. And you might think that the company you're buying from directly might be a little more responsive to issues you have after the sale than a retailer would. I find the exact opposite to be true, by the way. So when I bought the watch, it was offered with a coupon code for 10% off its $1,199 web price, so 120 bucks off, and a free watch roll. Well, I really didn't want a watch roll. I've got plenty of watch rolls, but I noticed that a month or so back, Yema had offered their watches with a discount code and a tropic strap, which I wanted, and I got to tell you, when you're browsing Yema's website looking at watches, they have a staff of internet marketing people that are absolutely Johnny on the spot when it comes to communicating with you in order to get you to buy something. So I was kind of impressed, actually. I asked if they could substitute a tropic strap for a watch roll. Chatted with a guy online named Nicholas. He wasn't authorized to make that decision, but he very quickly got approval. I ordered the watch thinking I had substituted this Tropic strap for the watch roll. The watch ended up coming to me with both. So props to Yema for including the $5 watch roll with the $12 Tropic strap that both cost a lot more if you buy them from Yema. So yeah, we got that going for us. Yeah, so inside all that comes the watch, and let's talk about this a little bit. The Superman Heritage 63 is, I better change my focus here a little bit. The Superman Heritage 63 is a reissue of a 1963 dive watch from Yema, a small but cool watch brand that started in France 1948, very close to the Swiss border, and Besançon. I'm not sure how you say that or pronounce it in French, but that gave me kind of a cool connection because I'm from Northeast Indiana, and just outside Fort Wayne, or outside New Haven, a little suburb of Fort Wayne, is a little burg called Besançon. It is a little agrarian community that was settled, I don't know, 150 years ago by people from Besançon, France. And I actually have good friends that are part of that clan. So I was connected to the watch, to the Yema product line. And frankly, guys, I was turned on to the brand by YouTubers, guys who had reviewed their products. And I sort of selected the Heritage 63 out of their catalog because of some key features. Number one, I thought the dial was absolutely the coolest dive watch dial ever. The case profile I thought was super cool with that thin mid case with the drilled lugs, and then the tapered main case that sits nicely between the bones of the wrist. The very sort of minimalist coin to edge bezel, and I thought the bezel lock was cool. So the Yema bezel lock was an invention of theirs in the early 60s. I think back when it was actually a new device, the bezels were actually just friction bezels. And then this piece of stamped metal that's held into the coin edge teeth of the bezel with the crown. You can notice when I unthread the crown, the bezel lock just kind of flops. And then when you thread the crown in, it grabs the teeth of that coin edge bezel and keeps it from moving either direction. Now the modern watches don't have friction bezels. They're all unidirectional ratcheting. This one's 120 clicks. And they make a couple of models that they offer without the bezel lock. And I think that bezel would be completely adequate with no lock. Got kind of nice action, really. Alignment is nice. So let's see. Let's look into the specs here real quick. The Superman Heritage 63 comes in two sizes, 39 and 41 millimeters. This is the 39 millimeter size, which is faithful to the original dimensions of the Superman Heritage. Lug to lug is 48, so it's kind of has some longish lugs. The dial is an inky black. The markers are applied in those trapezoid shapes, kind of double thick at the cardinal positions, noon, 6, and 9, and then a square or rectangular date window at 3 o'clock. The markers are all filled with Super Luminova. And they're supposed to have sort of Art Deco Arabics in the 6, 9, and 12. Notice mine doesn't have an Arabic numeral at the 12. No, it does not. You have the Yema sort of trademark shovel second hand with the red dot. Very cool. I was just stunned by the dial. I'm going to move the hands out of the way here. Talk about the printing on the dial. All the text is printed Yema with the script Y, and then Superman underneath Yema. Then down above the 6 you have 999 feet automatic France. How cool. Yeah, keep that number in mind, 999 feet, by the way. I thought the minute track was kind of interesting. If you notice, even the thin markers kind of take up the each 5-minute increment, and then the increment on either side. So the only printed minute markers between the indices would be the 7, 8, 2, 3 markers. You kind of get used to that, by the way. Like, you know, the 6 minute is at the very edge of the 5 marker. I have no issue with that. The bezel is kind of thin in profile. It goes with lots of the thin profile elements of this watch. It is an aluminum insert covered in a sapphire crystal. Now, Yema sells the watch as a fully loomed bezel. They might as well not, frankly. And while we're talking about loom, we'll get you a little loom shot here. As you can see, the large indices in Superluminova, and Yema does not specify which type, are quite legible, and they last a fair amount of time. But I think you can barely see the 12 o'clock pip in that bezel, and if you can make out the rest of the markers, you have better eyes than I do, or maybe the camera was kind in this case, but the loom in the bezel blows. But you know, the watch is so doggone charming, I can overlook that. I will say this, on the website, Yema's Loom Shot, that they list in the pictures of the watch is extremely embellished. Yours will never look that good. Okay, so let's talk about material, shall we? The hands are chrome plated, the markers are as well, and they are applied. The case is 316L stainless steel, as is the bracelet, which is a really cool H-link bracelet, nice and thin in profile. Lug width is 19 millimeters, but see, the bracelet probably 23 or 24. It flares out to meet the edges of the case in a very cool way. Tapers down a lot, probably 18-ish. And then you have a clasp with milled internals, a nice milled dive extension, but a stamped outer clasp with a friction latch that is pretty lame. You're not buying it for the clasp. And then a fold over safety. Case back, nicely done. Let's see if I can get this looking at you the right way. Kind of a circular satin on most of the case back. It is a screw down case back. And then we have a relieved center section with a polished Yema signature in the middle. You get a mixture of French, I guess it's, yeah, mixture of French and English. The printing on the case back. It's supposed to be a limited edition. This is number 121 of 1,000. Yeah. Nice signage in the clasp, by the way, in case you didn't see that before. So I thought, man, this is just charming. I was in the market for kind of a reissue of a 60s diver. I really wanted the Seiko 62 MAS reissue, the $1,100 variety, the SBDC 101 or SPB 143J1, but I was just having trouble finding those in stock when I had the funds to buy one, and the Yema kind of had me by the heartstrings, so I went ahead and bought it. By the way, movement-wise, it's running the Sellita SW200-1. There had been some prior versions of the Superman in the Yema line that ran the ETA 2824, but I think availability has dictated Sellita. I have no problem with that. This one runs about, I'm going to say 7-8 seconds fast per day. Not a big deal. 28,800 vibrations per hour. It's a 4 hertz movement. It has the nice smooth sweep that goes with that. No issues. So, you know, for $1,100 after your discount code, I'm not sure the watch really merits that kind of a price. The case and bracelet finishing are great. The construction, however, leaves a little bit to be desired. The clasp in its feel just isn't very luxurious, I guess. Everything feels kind of tinny. We have pins and collars holding these links together. They do articulate nicely, and you know, I have no issue with pin and collar. It's absolutely the most secure way to put a bracelet together. They can't come unscrewed. Once you're used to dealing with them, not that big of a deal. But now we're going to get into the horror story. When I received the watch, and remember, as we get into this, Yema's staff had been extremely responsive before the purchase. Extremely. So I get the watch in, I start to size the bracelet. No issues sizing it, came out beautifully. But when I picked the watch up to wipe it off, I noticed that the marker inside that chrome-plated index had fallen off and was bouncing around inside the dial. I'm going to roll a couple pictures in that show you my 12 o'clock marker loose from the index floating around the bezel. Yeah. So what do we do? Well, I thought this shouldn't be a big deal since Yema was so responsive, and I read quickly through the warranty booklet, and it said the best way to get a hold of them was to enter that chat function, which I did, and boy, they were Johnny on the spot, and they told me that it would be a repair. I'd have to send it to France. I said, how long will that take? They said, oh, we'll get to it in about a month. I said, really, a month? I'm not too happy about that, guys. I had the watch for an hour and it fell apart, and you're telling me that you'll get to it in a month after I send it in? I said, okay, so what's the process? Well, our warranty administrator will contact you within a week. Within a week to get you an authorization to return the watch for repair. Within a week. If I wasn't unhappy enough about a month of turnaround time for them to work on my watch, I was really steamed when they told me they'd get me an authorization for return in a week. And I think I even said in my chat thread, guys, any other company I've ever dealt with, be it a knife company, a watch company, anything company, if they sold me a mid-luxury item, a watch that cost $1,200, and it fell apart in the first hour, they wouldn't be able to get me a return authorization fast enough. Anybody else would know that they have a hot customer who spent a significant chunk of change to buy something nobody really needs based on how it's sold, the cachet of the brand, the quality of the components, etc. And it fell apart. But it's going to take you a week. Well, maybe a week. because actually our warranty administrator is on vacation and the person filling in for her is really, really swamped, so we'll do our best. Well, you know, a week came and went. And after a week came and went, I said, look, I need authorization now to return my watch, or I'm either going to have to file a PayPal dispute, or I'm just going to take it to my watchmaker and have them do the best they can. And my forthcoming review, and by the way, I am a YouTube gear reviewer with 30,000 and some subscribers, and it ain't going to be pretty. Really don't want to have to do that. I got crickets. Got crickets. Nothing from Yema. So here's the rest of the story. Went to my local watchmaker. Found out that the superluminova marker that goes in the 12 o'clock index didn't fit. It was oversized and it was curled, which is probably why it fell out in the first place, because it never seated into the pocket in that index enough for the adhesive to take hold, and it just fell out. So in trying to make it work, that superluminova marker got damaged, and it took my watchmaker about a month to find something close to the right color to fill that with, and they finally did. I think it looks okay. Actually, with the date at 3 and the Arabics at 6 and 9 with the 12 blank, I don't think it looks too doggone bad. But remember, it's a $1,200 watch that fell apart in the first hour in my hand, and the manufacturer's given me no help. Then there's another thing my watchmaker found. This is really disturbing. Notice, won't you, again, on the dial, I believe it says 999 feet of water resistance. That's 300 meters. Now, as a courtesy, whenever my local watchmaker has to do any disassembly on a water-resistant watch, they do a dry pressure test. This watch failed at any pressure above ambient pressure. It has 0 water resistance. So off again came the case back. The O-ring for the case back was inspected and greased. The O-rings on the stem were inspected. Everything looks great. The only conclusion my watchmaker has come to is that the seal around that double-domed boxed sapphire crystal is doing nothing. So what we essentially have here is a poorly constructed homage to a 60s vintage diver that has just about the same water resistance as an authentic 1963 antique Superman would have, which is none. So it is a novelty piece of jewelry with a fairly high quality Salida movement inside it, probably with components manufactured in China, inspected by, I guess by, if you look at Yema's Facebook post, they got a picture of some old French-looking dude with a loop in his eye who's their watchmaker. Well, maybe the loop isn't enough to make his 70-something-year-old eyes very good, but if he inspected this watch, he ain't very good. I don't know if they even inspect anything. I don't know. But what I can tell you about Yema is that they are, they're what, a 72-year-old company, founded in 1948, sold to Seiko in the 80s during the quartz crisis, purchased in the early 2000s by a French company called Ambre, A-M-B-R-E, who I think makes some watches of some kind. And they sort of sat on the brand for a few years till they came out with this current product line. I think they started shipping watches in 2011. But they bear no resemblance to the original Yema, I don't think. Just another one of those old European brands that's resurrected by modern day marketers who really have zero fucks given for making watches. So yeah, that's what you got here. That's what you got. So Yema, if you're watching, man, I can't tell you how much I'd love to do a follow-up video explaining to the folks how terribly embarrassed you are by the horrible miscommunication that resulted in the review we're all watching right now, and how you're bending over backwards to make it right, and you're putting procedures in place to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else. I'd love it. I'd love for that to happen. I would love to be able to make a follow-up video to this that explains that in detail. So for you watching here, a word to the wise on micro brands or resurrected brands of nebulous ownership and process. If you got to buy direct, be very, very, very careful. You know, I made this decision based on essentially YouTube reviews. Some of them were supplied with watches free of charge by Yema. Some of them were pass-around watches. And the reviews were all positive. What I didn't do was dig into print reviews on their customer service, because my story is not the only one like it. Absolutely is not. There's something about a watch company or any company that's owned by marketing people who don't care that's different from buying from an authorized dealer. An authorized dealer represents normally several or many brands, and they have an interest in you buying more stuff from them. They're usually going to help make things like this right. You have none of that. You can't, you know, an American can't sue a French watch company in Paris. I'm not hiring a lawyer in Paris because of some of the decisions I made to try to repair the watch. There wasn't going to be a PayPal case. I'm just stuck. I got a $1,200 watch that might be worth what, $300 or $400 in reality. So yeah. So word to the wise: stick to the standards. Old, reputable, high-quality watch companies or micro brands with a track record, owners who are out front and take care of their customers. You know, Zelos comes to mind. Mata comes to mind. And buy from authorized dealers. I mean, frankly, I'd feel better about buying a used watch on eBay from somebody who knows what they're talking about and obviously is representing their watch accurately than I would ever feel about buying another watch directly from Yema. It is a completely schlock operation. Change my mind, Yema. Change my mind. That's about all for this one. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember, the word is sharp. God and my Salida are pretty much right on time. Yema, garbage.